So West Ham came away then with a point against Newcastle at home, 2-2. Riley, tough game overall. And to be honest, I think a lot of fans would have probably taken a point before the game going in. I don't think we'd have been too annoyed about it. But on the circumstances, the fact that we were 1-0 up and playing very well, I think, the first half, and probably edged it, I would say, and probably looked like possibly getting a second. Obviously, then we go into the second half and concede 2 goals, then have to come back and get a late leveller for a very good goal, actually, from Mohamed Kudus. Just want to get, before we go into sort of the details and bits of the game, I just want to get your thoughts on it. Was you a happy boy after the game, or do you feel like that was a bit of an opportunity missed?
I'll tell you what, before we get into all that, I just want to say, it's bloody good to see you, mate. I haven't done a video of you in absolutely so long. I mean, the schedules ain't aligning, like the stars ain't aligning for us. It's busy times at the moment. It's been a very long time since we've been in video together. So how are you, mate?
I'm really good, mate. Really good. You know, West Ham are keeping me very happy at the moment. It's been a good season. So, considering the fact that obviously our videos last season were predominantly, you know, quite downbeat because of the season we were having, and in a relegation battle, of course, with Europe was brilliant. But yeah, mate, it's great to see you, and it's nice to be back recording again. As you say, we've just been so busy, the pair of us, and it's been very difficult to get the sort of time slots to make it work. So yeah, it's nice, and we're going to make sure that going forward that we make sure that we're doing, you know, weekly. We've got videos together. So yeah, back together, mate. You know, and yeah, really pleased, mate. Have you been okay?
Yeah, mate, yeah, I've been doing really well. And of course, like you say, seeing the football that West Ham play at the moment, it does just make these videos a bit better. I remember last season, half the time, we'd jump on a video, I think to myself, I've got to say something positive. I've got to, you know, try and put a spin on it. I don't want to be, you know, 100% pure negative, but most of the time we just ended up going on there and having a bit of a rant. So it's nice, actually, to be talking a bit positive about West Ham. And I tell you what, mate, I am a happy boy. I think you look at Newcastle, this is the same team that, you know, beat Sheffield United 8-0 away from home. Beat PSG 4-1 at home. And I think that, to be fair, a lot of that came through the 12th man effect in my eyes, turning St James's Park into a fortress. But they did it, you know, they kept the likes of Mbappe quiet, Dembele, Kolo Muani. You know, this is one of probably the best teams in the country, you know. And to be honest, I think we outplayed Newcastle. I think they couldn't touch a glove on us in the first half. And I think we played really well. And you look at the goals that they scored as well, fairly contentious. Our 2 goals from open play. Theirs were kind of from set pieces. And, you know, I think realistically, we were the architects of our own downfall. You know, we didn't defend too well. Whereas our goals, I think, were just well worked and good goals to score. I think it was quite harsh, to be fair, for us to be 2-1 down towards the end of the game. But, you know, something you discussed before we even started the video was this sort of trend of us going 1-0 up and not being able to hold a lead, or having a strong first half performance. And to be fair, it's quite ironic because I think last season it was the opposite. Last season we used to start games very slow and stagnant, and then, you know, Moyes would make a couple subs, or it would just get later into the game, and all of a sudden we'd come to life a little bit. But now we're starting off games very, very strong, which is obviously a positive. But then we take the foot off the gas, or we just don't really keep it going, keep the flow going throughout the entire game. But what do you think that's all about, mate? Do you think it's because of the players we've got at the moment? Do you think maybe the subs kill us off a little bit? Or do you think that, you know, teams that have the opposite of the West Ham effect, they themselves wake up to, oh, you know, West Ham isn't an easy game, you know, we're going to have to step it up a bit. We're going to try and break them down. Or do you think, which is what I think, that maybe our players sometimes just don't have the concentration to keep out a team for 90 minutes? You look at Aged and the criticism he's getting at the moment. You know, do you think that's the case?
It's really tough to call, isn't it, what the reason is? I mean, the reason, obviously, we'll talk about this in this video more is because it is becoming a trend. This isn't just a one-off. I mean, if you look back to Manchester City at home, very, very good first half performance, 1-0 up at half-time. I think a lot of our fans went into the break thinking, you know what, we can cause an upset here. We could beat City. And then, you know, ended up losing 3-1. We switched off at the beginning of the second half, got punished. We did the same against Sheffield United, albeit it wasn't a bad performance overall. We came away 2-0 winners, but again, it was a completely different performance the second half, and we didn't get punished for it that day. But we got punished for it against Newcastle. It's a tricky one with Newcastle, though. I'm not necessarily blaming it all on that, for them coming back into the game, because I think there was a few factors in that Newcastle game that really swayed it, and the referee being one of them, I thought was pretty poor and didn't help matters. But that being said, I think there is definitely something happening at half time that seems to be we're then seeing in the second half display, because it's almost like when I watch it, it feels like we look like a team where the hour break, sorry, the half-time break feels like it's been like an hour. The momentum's completely gone. Because if you remember the I don't know if you saw or you were at the game, Riley, but the end of the first half, we looked like getting a second. We were pushing and pushing and pushing, and I think Newcastle were kind of wanting half time to arrive. It just feels like we come out the second half, and that buzz, that excitement to try and get that second goal just completely diminishes, and we then suddenly look like a team that's on the back foot. Now, as you say, what's causing it? I'd like to think that. There would be the reason being for me would be that the team overall are probably trying maybe a little bit more cagey, want to hold on a little bit, then catch them on the counter. That's what I think it probably is. I don't think it's a really serious problem. I'd struggle to imagine that the instruction is to take the game, come out in a much slower pace. I can't imagine them saying that to the players, but I don't know whether it's a team thing or a managerial decision. It's very, very hard to pinpoint. But one thing that's quite clear is it can't carry on, because if we want to be challenging for top 6 this season, let's just be honest, we should be. That should be our aspirations this season. There's no reason why it shouldn't be. I do think that we're going to get unstuck if we keep coming out second half of games and being completely on the back foot, because mate, we're losing points because of it. I actually saw a statistic today. And when I say statistic, it was a tweet, so I haven't actually seen it in detail. But someone said that we'd be top of the league if it was based on just first half performances. We seem to be throwing away points in the second half, so a bit concerning, really. So, I mean, what's your feeling on it in terms of your concern? Is it something that you're worried about? Is it something that you think is a big problem, or do you think it's something that it could be easily rectified?
Well, I mean, I look at that Newcastle game, mate, and I look at the second half, and yeah, fair enough, they got the 2 goals, and you could argue you're on the back foot and chasing an equaliser, but I don't think Newcastle played the best of football. I mean, like I said, their 2 goals, it didn't come from open play. It came from a set piece, and fair enough. The first one was an accidental header by Alvarez. Headed it onto Isaac or Isaac, how I pronounce it. If he puts that behind for a corner, that's no goal. If there's not a foul that I don't believe was a foul, then that goal doesn't exist either. And for the second one, you could argue that Agaire's got to be stronger, a little nudge in the back from Isaac. And also, you think, how is it getting past 3 West Ham players to reach that back post? That shouldn't happen. So, in my eyes, I'm sitting there thinking, we don't need to change an awful lot. I mean, like I said, we're the architects of our own downfall in that second half. We keep a clean sheet in that second half, 45 minutes, we win the game. It's as simple as that. We don't need to have this really strong second half performance if we've already, built our sort of wall for success through a first half performance where we scored goals. In my eyes, I just think that if we defended better, and again, it's like the opposite to last season. Last season, we couldn't score goals. We couldn't create chances. We looked boring. We looked like we couldn't, no team was scared of us. This season, we can't defend. We're getting really silly mistakes, and we're conceding really silly goals. And fair enough, you want to love it all, and Agard, feel free to do so. I think it's a team problem, and it's a shame actually, because I think that Agard has defended well, and so is Zuma, so is Alvarez. Soufal, Emerson, I think they're probably the best they've ever played for West Ham currently at the moment.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just a case of we're going forward and creating more chances, and with that comes the you have to then get back into shape. You can't just sit in your shape and defend out. So in my eyes, I don't see it as a huge problem. I think City are always going to undo us no matter how many goals we get in front. That was inevitable. Again, in the Liverpool game, we started really well. We could have had 1 or 2 goals, and then we could have, built ourselves up and not had a penalty. Again, in that game, we conceded a penalty. We didn't defend too well for the goal. So in my eyes, I think that, yes, we weren't necessarily leading the game in the second half and on the front foot the entirety of the game. But for me, it's more about just ironing out those mistakes, because every single team that is losing at half time is going to come back stronger in the second half, or at least attempt to come back stronger in the second half, because the manager's going to give the team talk. Some teams reserve themselves in the first half and they go full for the last 45 minutes. Who knows if that's what we're doing? But I don't think West Ham are doing an awful lot wrong at the moment. I think that a lot of decisions didn't go our way, and I think we set ourselves up for victory, and we just weren't able to capitalise on it through the defensive mistakes. But talking about the decisions, mate, there's probably about 3 we need to talk about. The first one, Gomares, should he have been on the pitch?
Well, no, it was a second yellow card for me. I can't. It was like it was the same challenge you got booked for earlier. So I don't. It just does my head in with these referees more than anything. It's just the consistency. I just can't fathom one decision, yeah, okay, that's a booking, and then the second being, yeah, no, it's not a booking, and it's pretty much a carbon copy of the first. I don't know how he survived it. I just and what was even more bizarre, I was right in front of the referee, literally. Yeah. I just don't understand the decision. I think he got away with that one. Just quickly before we go into that, though, mate, you're right. The referee decisions. I think when we talk about the trend, the worrying trend. When I say it's not a worrying, it is a bit of a worrying trend because we do seem to be starting second halves in a very slow fashion, right? And it is causing us problems because we've lost points second half because we just don't seem to keep that emphasis, in how we're going to play. We don't carry it forward in second half. It always just seems to be a game of two halves for us at the moment. But when we talk about Newcastle, the game specifically, I actually think it wasn't just that. Like you say, David Moyes was right to say, yeah, it's a bit frustrating. But West Ham was two factors. One was slow start, two poor defending. 2 goals were really sloppy. And then obviously the third being, as we're talking about now, which is the refereeing decision. But yes, mate, in answer to your question, yeah, absolutely a second yellow. I don't understand why it wasn't given. All I can think of is that he booked him. And then it was such a quick challenge later on. He didn't know what to do. First half, do I send him off? I think he just got caught in that moment, the ref, and thought, oh, do I want to send a player off this early in the game? I think that's probably the only thing that saved him. I think if that had been a challenge, the same challenge had been, say, on the 60th, 70th minute mark, I think he'd have been sent off. I think it was purely the time of the game that he got away with it.
A foul is a foul, Mark. You know what I mean? Like, we're on the counter. Yeah, he's taking us down. Like, it shouldn't go. And you know, referees have done that before. Referees have, you know, I've seen an instance, I think last season, I think it was Lamina with Wolves, where he put a challenge in, he got a yellow card, and then he got booked for dissent. So he literally got 2 yellow cards in the space of about 30 seconds. And I guess it depends how strong the referee's going to be. And I think sometimes away from home, if we're playing at Newcastle, you think, okay, well, maybe he's not going to send him off, 2 yellow cards in the space of like 2 minutes. Fair enough. But we're at home, it's West Ham. You just think, surely that's got to come out of it. You know, if Gomara's punched him in the face 2 days later, it doesn't matter. A foul is a foul.
No, I agree. I do agree. I'm totally in agreement. I think that he should have been sent off. Like, absolutely. But I think that's what the referee probably thought, because there's no other reason for it. Why would you not book him again? Because it was a clear, there was a panel talking about it, and there were a couple of referees on the panel, and they said none of us would have complained had he been shown a second yellow card. There would have been no argument. They got away with it. They did get away with that decision, Newcastle. It's frustrating. But as you say, it wasn't just the only decision, mate. There was a few, wasn't there, that were quite costly, I think, to West Ham ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the most obvious one is, it's a 50-50 with Tonali. You know, Paqueta is just stronger. If anything, I think Tonali trying to wrestle with Paqueta, and Paqueta's wriggled out of it, and Tonali's just fallen on the floor. I can understand why the referee's giving it. That's never a foul, mate. I mean, it's a 50-50. You know, it's a contact sport, football. You use your body, you use your strength, and the amount of times I've seen Antonio manhandled on that pitch, and nothing ever gets given. And in the middle of the park, bear in mind as well, they the free kick about 10 yards closer than they should have done. They did the same with the Ward-Prowse free kick, which, albeit they didn't go into the wall, but the referee just completely lost control of the game at that point. And fair enough to Newcastle, it was a well-worked set piece and it was a 50-50. But that, for me, is never a foul.
No, never. It was never a foul. And it was that, it brings back that sort of age-old argument of former footballers should be referees or be in that game, because that was just typically a naive moron referee that's just seen a couple of players come together. One's fallen over. Oh, it must be a foul to Newcastle. There was no, as you say, they were both tussling for the ball. There was no fouling going on. They were just trying to outmuscle each other to get the ball.
Yeah.
Tonali's gone down, and he's trying to pull Paqueta down, and he's just fallen and gone, and Paqueta's gone. And all because he's fallen on the ground, the referees have deemed it a foul. It is really, really poor from the ref, and so frustrating, of course, because that led to the equaliser and ultimately the turning point of the game. Because, not to say Newcastle didn't deserve something from that game, by the way. I don't think Newcastle played badly and West Ham fully deserved the 3 points. But decisions that could have gone our way, should have gone our way, that was a big one, because obviously, of course, they went and then scored. The momentum then was with Newcastle, but as David Moyes said after the game, he was angry at his defence. One, for conceding from that on the equaliser, because it was poor from us. And then, of course, mate, we conceded, didn't we, straight away afterwards? I think about 5 minutes later, they were 2-1 up. Again, really, really poor defending from us. So lackluster. Unlike us, actually, I would say. A bit unlike West, that's not how David Moyes tends to be. His sides are very, very good at defending. I found us to be, we just looked like we were asleep for the second goal. I was very frustrating, but mate, look, it is what it is. And what was the other decision? Any other that you found that were big that we need to talk about?
Well, a lot of people have said that the first goal was offside, and to be fair, I thought it was at first but I've had a reread of the actual rules, and because Alvarez has played the ball with intent, like it's not come off his shoulder or bounced off him or anything. So from the initial free kick, Isaac was offside. So obviously you say, well, okay, offside from the initial Newcastle pass, then if a West Ham player's touched it, it's null and void because he's offside. But because Alvarez has intended to head the ball, maybe not in Isaac's direction, it's therefore not offside because he's intended to pass the ball. And then the next phase of play, whether Isaac's offside or onside, doesn't matter. Right? So that wasn't offside. But the one I'm talking about is the little push from Isaac.
In the back of a gird.
Yeah, but I don't think that's a foul, to be honest with you. I really don't. I think it's a big, powerful striker. Fair enough if Aged throws himself to the floor, I can see it being given. But personally, I think it's a little nudge. I mean, Aged's got to be stronger. He's got to know that Isaac's behind him. If he's started to Isaac there, as a good defender would be, he wouldn't be able to push him. And if he did push him, then it's a foul because at the end of the day, to push someone from there, he's going to have a lot more force than to give him a little nudge and then, get him in the back post. So I think he has to be stronger and tighter there. And that's, I don't think it's a foul personally.
No, I agree with that. Well, for one thing, when none of us complained about it, I mean, it's right in front of me, that goal, and I didn't think at all there was a foul. Usually you'd sense it. Usually you can tell by the player reactions if they believe there to be a foul, and I didn't see. I know that Aged, when I saw the replay, did kind of look around and go like that towards the ref, but no one else was complaining. There was even the fans weren't complaining. So yeah, I didn't see a foul. So like you, mate, I actually just thought it was really poor from West Ham because where I sit, it was pretty much, I was right in line with it. And I could kind of just see it was a goal from a mile away. Do you know what I mean? Come in and you just thought, right, he's going to lay it off here. He's going to square it to him. It was like we were just so asleep. It was obvious what was going on. And yeah, really, really disappointing. Obviously, that put them 2-1 up at Newcastle. Swung the game massively. It looked, and to be honest with you, I don't know about yourself, but I certainly felt that was probably going to be it. I thought we were going to lose the game. I could probably, had that been West Ham last season, I would have said we'd probably gone on to lose 3 or 4-1. I really do. I think our heads would have dropped. But we didn't. We didn't. Fair play to West Ham. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't a remarkable comeback in terms of we then turned it around and dominated. I thought it took a little bit of time. Mohamed Kudus, though, mate, it has to be said, was a big factor. Of course, he was a big factor because he scored the goal. But I actually thought that his performance coming on it lifted us. It's what we needed. I think it just gave us a complete different edge. And you could see Newcastle were really struggling with him, actually, to contain him. And got to say, he looks a very, very big player. Obviously, we can talk more about him as there'll be more conversations to talk about Kudus in the coming weeks, definitely, in terms of his importance to the side, because he seems to be becoming a vital player already. Even though Moyes is sort of say, yeah, I'm bedding him in, I'm going to give him a bit of time. But you're looking at him now thinking, I think Antonio's position's under threat, or Thomas Souček. You kind of look and think, because I think he has to be playing, mate. I really do. He was so impressive. But I'll tell you what, I will give credit to West Ham in that. I mean, it was frustrating to see our head, to concede those 2 goals. We were at fault. I know the referee was as well, and absolutely he should be accountable. But West Ham we still have a job to do. As Moyes said, at the end of the day, the foul's been given. You've got to deal with these things, and we didn't deal with them at all. But credit to West Ham because we fought back against a very good side. And mate, not only did we get a very good equaliser in Kudus. I'll tell you what, let's talk about the Kudus goal first before we go into the later part of the game. Obviously, it was the 89th minute, wasn't it? What did you make of it, mate? I'm assuming you were absolutely thrilled for him. Yeah,
I mean, I think he showed good glimpses in the game, but I just didn't see a goal coming. I didn't see where it's going to come. I just think the final pass was lacking, and we just weren't able to go in those positions. So I kind of thought that it wasn't going to come, but Soufal again, another assist from Soufal. I mean, I don't know how these teams aren't buying into the fact that most of our goals this season are coming from our fullbacks in advanced positions, and it was quite a simple ball, really, just to Kudus. But he takes it brilliantly, hits it on the half volley, and scores. And that's what a player like that can do. If he's got that kind of quality. And what I would argue as well is if that ball falls to Thomas Souček, that doesn't go in. He's not going to take that shot. He's not going to take that risk. So you know, if you watch the video that I did earlier today, you'll know kind of my thoughts on Kudus and where he should be starting or if he should be starting. But in terms of, I'm really happy for him as well to get the goal. I think it just adds an extra layer of kind of, you know, excitement to the dressing room and a bit more solidity as well. You know, Bowen getting his long-term contract, Kudus scoring his first goal, the signings all bedding in and playing really well. The Soufal and Souček getting back to their best, the checkmates. I think, you know, everything at the moment is just going really, really well. And I think that goal will be a huge boost of confidence for him. And obviously for Moyes, who, to be fair, I will give him credit. I think his subs were very, very good. You know, he put Ben Rama on and put Kudus on. He didn't do what he normally does and think, oh, let's just keep the team as it is, hope it gets a goal. And he was bold as well. He took off Souček and he took off Antonio. You know, that's quite bold substitutions for him. So, you know, and ultimately his substitution paid off and was a goal scorer. So you got to give credit to Moyes for that one. But yeah, brilliant take by Kudus and very, very happy for him.
Yeah, me too. I mean, he's a player not only with abundance of ability of running and he's got a great awareness, but there's not many players you can think of, especially in West Ham's time, but not even in general, that have the ability to fire those shots away really quickly because he got hold of that fast, you know, and I'm just really excited by him, really excited. Like you say, at that point in the game, you know, 89th minute as well, I thought it was gone. I couldn't really see us getting a goal back, although we had a couple of sort of chances a little bit, but we never really looked like scoring. Kudus just made the difference. He's got that quality. Really, really pleased for him. And you just get the feeling with him that he's got that natural ability to score goals. He's got more in him this season. You know, it doesn't feel, you know, with certain players, if that had been an Antonio goal, you go, brilliant, because don't get me wrong, Antonio's got the ability to do that. We've seen it. He can unleash a good, decent shot on him. But with Antonio, it's here and there, isn't it? It's you know, sometimes he pops up, does something brilliant like he did against Chelsea. Then you see him, then he don't score for a few weeks. He doesn't really look like scoring. But with Kudus, you just think he's got that look about him that he's just a menace and he's going to score a lot of goals for us if he's given the opportunity. So, no, really pleased, mate. And as you say, David Moyes spot on. The changes work well. And I'll tell you what, you're right. Like in terms of who he's bringing off his old cavalry, the trusted players he relies on and has always relied on. Thomas Souček and Antonio are his favourite, you know, part of his trusted group. And he's called them both off to say we're going to go for this. So it's a good sign, mate. Let's be honest, this has been a great season so far. Nothing. I've got no real complaints. If someone, like I said to start the video, mate, if someone said a draw before the game, Newcastle, I think most of them would have said, yeah, I would probably take that. Don't get me wrong, I'd like to have won it. I think on another day we would have won it. Obviously, I'm going to quickly talk about the last part of after we scored, mate. We were really putting them under pressure. And Jared Bowen almost nicked it, sort of cut inside beautifully and fired a shot across goal. I think it was Ben Rama, wasn't it, on the far post? Just wasn't quite there to put it in. Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. Another day, I think we'd have won that. But no, I mean, overall, are you pleased overall with the draw, or are you somewhat disappointed we didn't take all 3 points?
Mate, honestly, I would have taken a draw before the game. I'd take a draw after the game. I'd have taken a draw during the game. You know, I think Newcastle are a great side. They're the kind of team that I think we need to be maybe in the later end of the season if we're going to, you know, finish above them. I think, you know, Newcastle, Villa, Brighton, probably Chelsea United when they get going. Those will be the teams that we're going to, you know, be in around, hopefully, in the end of the season if we keep playing the way we're playing. But at the end of the day, we faced Newcastle, top 4 last season. Chelsea, who at the time also had a massive injection into their squad. So, you know, the players we played against, you can't take that away from us just because they're not playing the best football. Man City, treble winners last season. Liverpool, look back and better than ever. And of course, you know, Brighton, who again were, you know, finishing the top 6, and we have a, you know, illustrious curse against them. Not only have we never beaten them away from home, but we've never beaten them in the Premier League full stop. Yeah. So, you know, I think when you look at the season as a whole, there's only 2 games there where you think, right, Bournemouth, Luton, well, 3 games, Bournemouth, Luton, and Sheffield. You think, well, those have to be wins realistically, and we've got more than 9 points. So you have to be a happy boy at the end of that, mate. If you can't enjoy these sorts of moments, mate, then, you know, it would just suck to be a football fan. So I think you've got to be happy. You've got to be positive with the start of the season we've had. And I think, we're 7th place now and we're getting a sort of easier run of games. I think we've got to be happy about the way we've started this season, and I hope it continues.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pleased with the start of the season. Absolutely, really, really pleased, mate. It has been a positive start, and I think before I did the preview for the Newcastle game, I said that I felt that game would be a good sort of bar in terms of in judging where we are this season and working out are we going to be able to compete with the top sides. I think it shows that we can. As I say, it would have been fantastic to have taken the 3 points. It would have been a real statement. But on another day, I think we would have done. I think the referee played a big role in us not. As I said, but we've already discussed it. We're not going to go over it again. But I feel we didn't help ourselves at all. But yeah, mate, I'm well pleased. And look, we've got a long way to go. Yeah, we've got a period of patch of games now coming up. Bar Aston Villa away, which is going to again a very tough game. One of our competitors this season, which will be another judge of where we are. But we've got some games after that you look at and really we could be getting maximum points from. So it's an exciting season, mate. Really exciting. Of course, we've got Europa going on. So yeah, happy boy all round, mate.